Greetings travelers and welcome to another Tempo Storm Hearthstone Battlegrounds video. Tier lists are always a hot topic in Battlegrounds, and while everyone has their own opinions about which heroes are the best, there are a handful of heroes that are universally considered to be the worst. These heroes have hero powers that are often underpowered, slow, or expensive, so you'll avoid them most of the time, but you won't always be offered S-tier heroes. Sooner or later, you'll be forced to pick up a weak hero, but the game's not over when you do. With proper fundamentals and tight play, you can compete with any hero, and we can show you how. In this video, we're outlining how to win with the weakest heroes in Battlegrounds. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to our Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel to keep up to date with our Hearthstone content. Before taking a closer look at the worst heroes, let's take a look at how all the heroes rank in general. Top-level Battleground players publish tier lists based on their results at high MMR, and this list from top Battlegrounds streamer Educated Collins is an excellent example. In Battlegrounds, development is crucial, and the highest ranked heroes are the best because they bolster your early game development or help you scale your minions into the late game for little or no cost. The top heroes, Tyrion, Rafam, Daryl, and Yogg-Saron, all have hero powers that give you a massive head start in stats and resources, while being useful to improve your team at multiple stages of the game. Other strong heroes like Edwin and Nefarian may not have strong hero powers starting out, but they are very strong going into the mid to late game while being cheap and easy to use. Compared to these upper tiers, the lower tier heroes are plagued with hero powers that have low impact on development, are expensive to use, or encourage you to dig for awkward synergies. So what can you do if you're forced to play a low tier hero? First things first, whether you're playing a strong hero or a weak one, you always want to keep the fundamentals in mind. Throughout the game, you want to focus on development, whether it's developing your board or developing your tavern. The strongest heroes all have boosted development, so if you're playing a low tier hero, your top priority is to hit your development milestones during the early game. The basic progression for your first few turns is to buy a token generating minion, or otherwise the best minion possible on turn 1, level your tavern on turn 2, sell the token or first minion to buy 2 level 2 minions on turn 3, and buy 2 minions on turn 4. On turn 5, either buy 1 minion and level the tavern, or buy 2 minions if you've lost combat in the early rounds and level on the following turn. A good goal is to have a full board and access to the level 4 tavern by the time you have 10 gold, at which point you can start to transition to a composition that can scale and carry you to the mid and late game. In the early stages of the game, your gold is limited, so regardless of which of these heroes you're using, avoid spending gold on your hero power as much as possible. Even if it seems like the effect is worth it, your gold is better spent on buying better minions. In a lot of cases, even pressing the refresh button takes priority over using your hero power if you don't have enough gold to buy a minion, since it gives you more chances to find higher impact minions that you can freeze to carry over to the next turn. You'll also want to avoid buying specific minions for the sake of forcing synergy with your hero power. A common trap is to force an early menagerie build with Queen Wagtoggle, or build around mediocre demons with Lord Jaraxxus if you don't have Wrathweaver or Floating Watcher, but if you do this, you're likely to fall behind since early game minions are rarely worth long-term investment. Later in the game, once you've established minions worth investing in, you can start to weave in your hero power to buff minions or control the board. These general rules are a solid foundation to fall back on for all heroes, even the strongest ones, and you'll be surprised how often you'll be ahead in development against your opponents simply by sticking to the fundamentals. With that in mind, each hero power has their nuances, so let's check out some quick tips for the game's weakest heroes. Sylvanas' hero power costing 0 is deceiving, since removing the minion costs you the gold you would normally get for selling it. Like most buff hero powers, it's best suited in the late game. The best use is to eliminate a spent Battlecry minion when the gold you would get for selling it would be spent only to refresh the tavern. Paramad's hero power provides a 3 health buff to a random minion, so this power is a good fit for builds featuring Murlocs and Mechs, where most of your minions have similar stats and can benefit from the health boost. Rat King's passive buffs work best in the first few turns, since any buff costing 0 gold can be powerful, and you're usually not looking for specific minion types. Since the buffed type is random, don't go out of your way to buy buffed minions later in the game if they don't work well with your comp. Queen Wagtoggle can buff multiple minions, but requires you to have minions of each type to get full value. Instead of building around getting full value from the hero power, look for minions like Cave Hydra that scale well without needing other minions of its type. Since Ragnaros' power doesn't help you develop, avoid using it in the early game. The 8 damage shots are most likely to kill minions in the mid game, and can get in a lucky shot against a Baron or break Divine Shields in the late game, but is largely useless against a big demon demon team, so be sure to check the enemy's minion types in the sidebar before you use it. Galakrond's power to spend a gold to gain a gold coin is a very low impact, and you shouldn't use it to stockpile gold. The best time to use it is when you freeze a set of minions that you want to buy next turn, but you have extra gold that you can't use to buy a minion or upgrade this turn. Putricide's buff adds 20 attack to your first attacking minion during the next combat. The buff isn't permanent, but it's worth the cost with cleavers and Cobalt Guardians specifically. Like all board affecting powers, save it for the mid to late game. Jaraxxus's hero power only applies to demons, and while demon builds are very successful in the meta, don't buy mediocre demons to force the synergy without Wrathweaver or Soul Juggler. Be prepared to abandon the hero power if you need to pivot away from demons. George's power is the most expensive in the game, but it can be very powerful when used to give Divine Shield to big carries like Wrathweaver. Use this power only in the late game and only on minions that you will never sell. Finally, Millhouse is a tricky hero to play since he has a penalty to his starting gold and more expensive refreshes. You'll be stuck on the early tiers longer than other heroes, but if you can survive to late game, you can purchase more minions a turn, so look for opportunities to chain multiple Battlecry minions in the same turn. Altogether, with solid fundamentals and a little bit of luck, you can make a successful run with any hero in the game. We've outlined a lot of basic tactics and specific tips for the weakest heroes here, but be sure to check out our other Battlegrounds meta videos for more hero guides and meta updates. We're always keeping a close eye on the latest developments in Hearthstone, so don't forget to subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel to stay up to date. Thanks for watching!